meeting of the Palm Springs International Airport Commission is now in session. I'd like to follow the agenda has been posted.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, your agenda was posted last Thursday.
Very good. Roll call. Marjorie, please.
Gazelle is excused, Bosworth excused, Callahan.
Here.
Shield.
Here.
Streisky. Here. Engelhardt.
Here.
Duncan is excused, Frieden.
Here.
Luders.
Here.
Lovett. McLaughlin.
Here.
Miller.
Present.
Sherman is excused, Sisson. Here. Spicer is excused, Tavel.
Here.
And Tyler.
Here.
The roll's been called.
And we do have a quorum. Approval of the minutes from September 4th.
Motion to approve.
Moved. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those who oppose? I'm going to change the order just slightly. We'll do public comments next. I'd like to do introductions first, since this is a rather special meeting. First, we have a number of guests of commissioners here, and I would like them to introduce their guests so that we all meet each other. And we'll see some of you certainly on the tour. So if I will start, my friend Scott from Los Angeles. Scott and I have been friends for
Palm Springs.
And Palm Springs, he has a house down here too. Been friends for 15 years, and he's heard me go to Airport Commission forever. And I said, why don't you just come along and see how much fun we have there every month. So it's my friend Scott Pettyjohn. Let's see.
Mine all turned me down.
Oh, really? Dan, Jane. Okay, Gary.
My wife Shirley, in the back here.
Shirley.
Oh, airlines flight attendant for 31 years, retired.
Oh, very good. Welcome. Mike?
Well, mine slept in, but I'll take Bill Bramer or Penny.
Okay. Is it a one thing or you got a combo deal?
Early combo.
Bert, see that.
My wife had to bail out in the last minute.
Okay, that's fine.
Be here.
Very good. Jane,
It's a friend of mine and a supervisor with me in Indio, Mike Hoffman.
welcome.
Thank you.
I'm going to claim Bill Bramer. What do you think?
All right.
You got two claims. He's popular.
Very good. And Ed?
I brought Bud Hartman, who was the past president of the Palm Springs Air Museum, the president of the Palm Springs Air Museum, and then retired president of the Palm Springs Air Museum.
I don't think they mean if you're already complex right now.
He probably knows how to get to the Air Museum.
Just barely.
Welcome. All right, now let's go to the public comment period. This is a period which anybody in the public can comment on any issue that is concerned to the airport. It's limited to 3 minutes. If there is no comment, we will move on. If you have an agenda item and you are the main person on the agenda item, you can wait till that item and have 5 minutes to discuss it. So if there are any public comments, we'll entertain them now. If not, we will move on to the business items. Agenda item number 1. Mr. Snoop.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Members of the commission, good morning.
Good morning.
You have a report in which there is a letter attached from Mr. Levin concerning a sliver of property on Farrell Drive in front of the DMV property. This is a parcel of land that was part of the Farrell Drive realignment that we carried out several years ago. And as part of that, we had to acquire some pieces of property. And in other cases, we ended up with old right-of-way from the old Farrell Drive that was left over, and under California state law, that right-of-way reverts to the original, usually reverts to the property owner. However, in the case where there is a tribal allottee involved, it reverts back to the tribal allottee. We went through the process, and on this particular parcel, we ended up with a sliver of property that was left over that, had we just done our normal process, which was to move the roadway and let the right-of-way revert, it would have reverted to the tribal allottee, and there would have been a little sliver of land in there that wouldn't have been developable, but would have just been there. At that point, we decided to go ahead and acquire it, so we actually paid for right-of-way that had been granted to the city, but since it was an Indian grantee, it actually didn't have the same kind of sticking power as a normal right-of-way grant would have. So we ended up paying a little over $11,000 in change for that property, and then we transferred the property to the DMV parcel. And you can see that as shown on the map, the yellow property is the property in question. Mr. Levin has sent his letter and has requested that the commission consider spending some dollars to help landscape that property. The recommendation from the staff is that we should not spend dollars that are meant for the airport to do landscaping on property that we paid for and granted to the property. That's our recommendation to the commission, but you need to hear from Mr. Levin, and possibly the person from the DMV may very well also be here.
Okay, the property now belongs to Mr. Levin.
That is correct.
By process. That's clear. All right, Mr. Levin, would you like to speak, or do you have something like to introduce yourself, I guess?
You speak up and all.
Good morning, Commission. We have acquired through after eminent domain, which the city has taken back from, purchased back from us for a total amount of $15,000 that would enable them to widen the street on Farrow Drive. And in addition to that, they gave us 3 parcels, 2, 4, and 5, which requires landscaping, otherwise it's just a plain sore thumb out there. And the demands from our tenant, which is Department of Motor Vehicle, which is state-owned, has also made a request of it because the wind and everything blows the sand and whatnot into their property line. So therefore, we, by being innocent people, not requesting the ownership on parcel 2, 4, and 5, we'd like to know what recommendations you can make to compensate us so we can upgrade the facility, which the Department of Motor Vehicle has been making requests of us for the past year now.
On behalf of the state, we'd like to also maintain the beautification of Palm Springs and the DMV, make it nice. And the numbers we're getting so far for the landscape improvements, lighting, irrigation, what have you, are running upwards of $30,000. What we would like to have is the Airport Commission to participate in that endeavor, as stated in the letter. Again, we're leasing the property. We are not a shareholder in the property. However, the state would like to maintain a nice presence in the location they're currently located at. And we've already gone as far as providing landscape plans. We have a contractor on board to start the process. We will pursue this regardless of your decision, because we're not going to leave a barren piece of land out there that detracts from the aesthetic value of this DMV facility. However, it does come with a price tag, and so whatever kind of a consideration, compensation, perhaps that you would be forthcoming would certainly be a nice gesture. I understand you're going to be already paid $11,000 for this piece of property. Something to that level would be right along with the price tag. That we also will assist the lessor in pursuing this landscape improvement. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioners, we will have to discuss it amongst ourselves. We don't, in a public hearing, we can't discuss back and forth. So if there's any more comments you'd like to make.
Well, I'd like to also comment the fact that not only it takes initial cost of landscaping, but in maintenance. I mean, you have a monthly maintenance service, which requires installing irrigation and maintaining it, cleaning, and further upgrading as far as the landscape is concerned. And that could run into quite anywhere in the neighborhood of about $250 to $300 per month, in addition to the landscaping that we assume at present. And over a period of a year, it could run into the neighborhood of roughly $3,000, $3,500 a month. And that's something that we should also would appreciate you taking into consideration.
Any more comment from your people? All right, thank you. Commission. Mr. Ed.
I sort of, go along with Alan, I find it very hard, especially after this past year, to pay for something that's done on the airport. What's the total deficit we're running this year because of what happened in 9/11?
deficit last year. This year, we're not running a deficit. The total deficit last year caused us to use up almost $1.5 million of our reserves.
So $1.5 million is a lot of money. I'm sympathetic with you, but I can't see myself voting for it here.
Chuck, are we going to be discussing it now, or?
Yes, we are.
Oh, we are.
We need to take action on this item. Unless you want to defer it for some reason, but we need to, it's an action item, so we're.
Well, can I respond to that? The state also is,
You can't respond.
We'll allow certainly one more time.
we are also in the same position of a deficit. Obviously, this is not going to bankrupt or put us in the hole. It just has a friendly partnership between the airport and the community of Palm Springs. I want the state to maintain a nice presence here.
Chuck, the property is no longer ours, right? It
That's
has
correct.
nothing to do with the airport.
Eventually, what happened was given back, is that correct?
But currently.
The property was never the property of the airport.
Okay, so
It
we
was the city's right-of-way granted by the tribe, by a tribal allotee 65 years ago for Farrell Drive to go through. When we realigned Farrell, we moved it, and there was excess right-of-way at that point, and under California law says it goes back to the owner or the property. In this case, it was a tribal allotee. And so the property never was the airport's property, and it was our project which caused this to happen. And that's why we said it's not appropriate for us just to leave. I mean, we could have walked away and left that island of land out there, and it could have been a tribal allottee's land, and that could have been the end of the subject. And we said, we don't believe that's the appropriate thing to do. So we expended $11,533 or whatever it was to buy that piece of property to give it to Mr. Levin. So we spent $11,500 to not create a worse problem than it's out there. I mean, I agree, it's a piece of land that nobody has a use for other than to expand the parcel that the DMV's on for landscaping purposes. But it was never our property, and we spent money to make sure that we didn't leave a mess behind.
Then, you know, considering the security concerns and the costs that we have experienced, yeah, I have a difficult time supporting it as well. It would seem to me that the city council would be more the appropriate venue for this to be at least discussed. I don't know where if the airport doesn't own the land, why would we be involved in costing out anything for landscaping? Anyway, that's my comment.
We're involved because they came to us instead of maybe going to council. Maybe we're supposed to make a recommendation one way or the other. But I have a question is when we got this, when we had the property and we paid for it and turned it over to Mr. Levin, did he knew the property, he saw it, did he accept it graciously or did we force it on him?
We processed the grant deed and sent it to him and said, here's your property.
He said, thank you very much. And
I don't know that he said thank you very much. We sent the property there. Mr. Levin could speak for himself. I mean, it was part of under the, I'm trying to think of the California law that it falls under, Subdivision Map Act. Under the Subdivision Map Act, it is a process that whoever moves the right-of-way or changes the right-of-way must go through. It says you will process this property and give it back to the original person. In this case, we would have given it back to the tribal member, which would have made a mess. Instead, we went and condemned it from the tribal member and gave it to the property owner.
And this is a piece of his property that he gains revenue from in the lease that he has agreed with the state, correct?
Well, I mean, all it is there's not enough room to put parking spaces on it. There's not enough room to expand the building. Well, I guess you could expand the building on it, but I don't think it makes sense to. So it's not a great piece of property to add to his parcel other than it allows the DMV to get their sign way out on the corner.
But as far as his property,
I don't think the DMV's in the advertising business, so I don't know that that gets him that much.
as far as his property, his square footage is larger than
That's
what it was.
Jay?
I just recently went through, earlier this summer, a situation kind of similar to that, where the city of Indio realigned the street that came through by my hotel there, the Best Western Date Tree in Indio, and I was gifted a piece of land that is not going to be a profit sharing for the hotel, but I was required to do the landscaping. There was nothing I could do about it. I now had this piece of land that looked ugly. The only thing that I did get them to do is if there was any blacktop from the road that was there before or whatever, they removed that and cleaned up their garbage from rebuilding the new road through there. But I acquired this land. There was nothing I could do about getting them to landscape it.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that we support staff recommendation to deny the request.
I'll second it.
Seconded, moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
May I ask a question?
Mr. Levine?
You know, it's true that you gave us the land, but no one ever approached us and asked if we wanted the land. It's something that's additional, it's something we have no need for. It's only given us additional headache and cost. I mean, still no, I live here in the States, and I've always been taught that the person has the privilege of making a decision as to whether or not they want something or not, and reject it. And in this particular case, in as much as we do have it, we're only asking for something that I think is only fair. We're not asking for anything else, being that it has been granted to us. I feel that your participation in this particular matter would be justified, and it's something that would help the city as far as looks and as far as DMV, our tenant, who's been a tenant of ours now for 13 years, and they're here to stay, and we certainly want to accommodate them in any way, in every way we can.
All right, thank you, Mr. Levine.
Thank you.
Is there any more discussion from the commission? The question's been called for. All those in favor?
Aye.
And those who oppose? Passes. I would recommend that maybe you want to talk to the city council. That's a possibility. All right. I believe we have some introductions that weren't here. Yes. Helen first. You have your guests here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Did you meet Bill Bramer? Did he introduce himself?
Hi, Bill. Hi. How are you? Welcome.
The other person is Cynthia Torres.
Yes, Senator. Welcome.
And she
Thank you again.
is the lovely young lady who is with the Department of Commerce.
Yes. And we appreciate you coming to visit us. Al, do we have other introductions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, there is another individual we would like to introduce to you who will be a regular fixture around here, I'm quite sure. Mr. Tom Anthony is right over here. Tom, you want to stand up? Tom is the recently appointed Federal Security Director for our airport. Tom is now stationed in a little phone booth that we've provided for him downstairs. We're going to be talking about his space needs here in just a moment. So this is Tom Anthony, and Tom, you may want to say a couple of words to the commission.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. It is a pleasure to be amongst you. It's a pleasure to be stationed at an airport that is so well managed and so well run, and that's a tribute to yourselves. You have a national reputation as a well-managed and well-run airport, and so it's a pleasure to be here and to work with you. As you may know, yesterday morning was our first morning with our federal screening workforce, and by all accounts, we did very well and it went very smoothly. This morning we have made some adjustments, and by tomorrow I think it'll even be right around the 100% level. So things are going well. I know one of the issues of concern to all of us and to this community were the previous screeners from the contract screening workforce. I spoke with Congresswoman Bono on this issue. She was very concerned about it as well, as are we. And currently I just got a report from our assessment center at the Wyndham that they are all at the assessment center right now, and they will be going through the same training and assessment as the new screeners, and hopefully all of them will pass and they will have the same opportunities as before. So at any rate, I'm glad to be here, and it's a pleasure to work with you all, and thank you for inviting me to the commission.
Tom, on behalf of the commission staff, welcome. We're glad to have you here, and it's an exciting change from the way we've ever done business. So I think it's a great partnership, and we're very pleased that you're here.
Thank you.
And your people. All right, Mr. Smoot, where did we leave off in all this? All right, we're down to his phone booth. Now, did you get a phone with that phone booth?
Sure did.
We have, since Tom has been here all of 3 weeks now, we have been working to try to meet the needs of the TSA at the airport. We have a request from the TSA for 6,000 square feet of leasable space. We don't have that just laying around, so we've been scraping around to come up with a plan. And we are in the midst of putting together a couple of things. First of all, we are going to lease several existing spaces in the building to the TSA. Those spaces are down at the checkpoint. There's a very little small cubbyhole office that has been utilized by the previous checkpoint personnel. The art gallery space downstairs we will be leasing to the TSA. And down in baggage claim, there's that big room in the far corner back there that's never been used for anything but storage. And we will be leasing that entire area to the TSA. That only brings us to about 2,200 square feet. So they're still way short of the 6,000. We're also looking at out under the terminal building. There is an existing office space out there that we utilized during the construction project that we're leasing. And then we will be leasing 2 mobile modular units to be brought in here within a 2-week period if the council authorizes us to proceed with a lease on it. Down by gate 15, which is down the little patio area down the concourse, and we'll be able to kind of build a little, for lack of a better term, pen area down there to where they will be able to use that gate as their front door and not be out on the airfield, but still be able to get access to those trailers. That would be the short-term solution to get them about 5,800 square feet. The longer-term solution is to work through the GSA processes to develop an office complex for them under the terminal building. So we're still working through that process, but our first goal is to get Mr. Anthony and his crew into somewhat suitable facilities here in the next couple of weeks by getting the trailers here and making some reconfiguration of these other spaces. And that's the direction we are going. We'll be leasing those under the federal regulations. We cannot lease them the screening checkpoint areas or the areas where they will be doing the explosive detection. However, any office spaces that they do lease, they, under the law, have to lease it from us under their normal fair market rental value. We will be making some tenant improvements in those spaces to make them palatable for them to utilize, and they're not lavish. They'll be minimal to get them in there, and those dollars we will also recoup through the lease. And that's where we are at this point. Like I say, we will be, once we get them in here, because we need to not spend a lot of time worrying about offices, because Mr. Anthony has a tremendous amount of stuff to do, and so do we, to get ready for the explosive detection stuff. So we want to get them in, get the explosive detection systems in place, meet all the deadlines, and then after the first of the year, we'll figure out how we're going to do the rest of this stuff and do it through we'll have to do it through the GSA, which will be an interesting process for us to deal with. And
how hard to staff to need to accommodate.
Well, there's two parts to that question. There is a permanent office staff that will essentially need office spaces in the number of about 25. The screener workforce, which basically does not need individual workspaces, but will need a break room and some areas for supervisors to hold performance discussions, and some areas to hold, let's say, training, etc. We're talking in the neighborhood of around 70, 75. Again, it is reflective of how many explosive detection systems we're going to get, which have to be manned, and that is a number that's in flux by in the order of about 25%, but it will be in that general area. But office space for around 25 plus about 75 screeners, so we're looking at a staffing of right around 100.
Okay. Any other questions? Any action item you need from us, Mr.
No, at this point, I mean, the normal leasing of offices is a function that we can do. We are going to the council tonight to get authorization to to lease these mobile offices from. It turns out that the low bidder was GE Leasing Corporation. And we're finalizing the final prices on that, but we will recoup our full cost and make a few dollars through the leasing of it. And that will go to council for emergency authorization because we've actually entered into contracts already and a lot of stuff. And so you will see that as a report back to you next time, but that's where we're set.
All right, any other questions? If not, we'll move on to the next item, which is the September 11th, 2001 memorial plaque request. Tommy, would you like to speak?
I'm over here.
Over there. Would you like to speak first?
Sure. Good morning. My name is Tommy Owens. I live here in Palm Springs, and I'm addressing you on the issue, I believe it's in your package, for the 9/11 memorial plaque for the flight attendants and the pilots that passed away on September 11th of this past year. There seems to be some confusion how this got to the commission. It was brought to my attention because something was faxed to you all from an opponent of a sitting congressperson in the general election that it was a political issue or could be construed as a political issue. I assured you that the opponent of Ms. Bono has no political interest at all in this matter. That opponent is a 31-year flight attendant from United Airlines. That needs to be in the forefront of your decision making. That she is, in fact, an employee and a co-worker of people who perished away in a terrorist act. The second issue is that during a staff meeting with Gary and Barry, it was brought to my attention that there is a policy issue, or there was a question, as you stated, on whether or not there's a policy that allows the commission that oversees the Palm Springs Airport to accept a gift or work with people who would like to gift a plaque for groups of people that I really don't know how to put this because I was quite confused about the policy issue, but I believe it was, and Barry, you can stop me at any time, there is no policy that says you can't accept a gift memorializing any specific group or recognizing any specific group. That being said, and that probably being true with your policy or your unclear policy, there is no history in the United States where a group of people were attacked on our soil and so many people died so tragically. The flight attendants and pilots who passed away currently have no single memorial in the United States that memorializes their gift of life to the citizens of the United States. There are memorials that are at, and plaques that are at, American Airlines Flight Academy. I believe there's one in Boston, and there's a proposed one at Hartsfield International Airport in Atlanta, and as well there is a proposed one that's in the works at JFK. I just strongly urge that this commission accept the gift, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
All right, Commission, we have had a committee who's studied it. Do you want to go first, Al, or do you want the committee to go first? Mr. Barry, do you want
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Tommy. As we all know, this is a very emotional and sensitive subject, and we're not taking it very lightly. And we've grappled over this issue, and that's one of the reasons we did put the ad hoc subcommittee together and met twice in order to review this and try to come up with the proper recommendation. And I do think that it would be appropriate now to hear from our chairman of the ad hoc subcommittee and the members of the committee and hear their point of view on this and share that with the commission, and then we can discuss it further.
Mr. Chairman, I have a report that I want to read to make sure that all the facts and data is correct. Okay, this is a report from the ad hoc committee made up of myself, Bill Bizell, Mike Levitt, and Jim Miller. We met Friday, September 28th with Barry in his office. We had a rather lengthy discussion looking at all aspects of the issues as objectively and fairly as possible. We certainly agree that the tragic events of 9/11 should be memorialized, and we must honor those who lost their lives in the line of duty. Earlier this last month, Barry and I had a chance to meet with Mr. Owens. At that meeting, he expressed a desire to have the plaque placed in the airport terminal. However, the airport is a place where the business of travel, air travel, takes place. It is not a place where one would normally go to honor, memorialize, or reflect on the events of a tragedy. Ultimately, we must be sensitive to the feelings of the traveling public. Most certainly, the events of 9/11 are on the minds of every person who travels by air. The ad hoc committee came to the conclusion that displaying a reminder of the tragedy for people to see as they go through the boarding process to board a flight is not a good idea. Clearly, the events of 9/11 are monumental and hardly compared to other aircraft tragedies. But the fact is that these flights resulted in crashes where many lives were lost. A plaque in the airport terminal representing these tragic events might be too emotional and upsetting for some of the passengers traveling. To my knowledge, there are no plaques in any airport terminal memorializing other airplane crashes. Not TWA's 800, not American Airlines 587, that was November 12th of 2001 that went into Jamaica Bay. Not even Pan Am's Flight 103, the 1988 Lockerbie crash that was the result of a terrorist. They all have plaques and dedications, but none are found inside airport terminals. I did an internet search of memorials and plaques. Most are located outside, generally in very quiet places. American Airlines has built a memorial outside their museum, which is open to the public, located on the grounds of their Flight Academy and Learning Center. Boston's Logan Airport is putting an arboreal memorial in which they plan to plant 157 flowering trees. They consider 9/11 as part of Logan's history. At Shanksville, Pennsylvania, there's a memorial to the crash site, at the crash site of United Flights 93. The Pentagon is planning a memorial on their grounds. And of course, there's the Ground Zero Memorial. I came across many online memorials that were quite moving and were specifically dedicated to lost crew members. Not only 9/11, but other aircraft crashes as well. Perhaps it would be better for the citizens of Coachella Valley to have a memorial in a location more suitable to remember, reflect, honor, and pay tribute to the brave men and women who lost their lives in this most tragic national event. The ad hoc committee feels that this should be a decision of city governments valley-wide and not in the scope of the airport commission to decide. That's my report.
Okay, any questions of
Any other
subcommittee members?
Commissioner Lovett made a point too that, do we really have an appropriate place here at the airport to put it? Like some airports have chapels or things like that. I think the flavor of the whole thing, as Gary was saying, was more, there's already enough apprehension with the traveling public, getting on a plane, especially after 9/11. We didn't want to add to that. And so it was more a question of appropriate location of the plaque. I think I mentioned during the thing, like at the tragedy at the Columbine High School, they might have something at that high school, memorializing that, but I don't think they would put something at every high school to make parents and students apprehensive about going to high school, you know what I'm saying? So that's kind of where the direction we were going.
And Gary, in fact, I guess our last meeting, we were on both, I was on one side of the point and Gary was on the other, and we've had, with the discussion we had with Jim and Bill, I think, Gary has done just a fantastic job, and I think what he said really reflects all of the feelings that were brought out in discussion at both meetings.
Okay. Well, there's no questions for an emotional issue, and probably one that our committee probably wrestled with more than we probably understand. So your recommendation is not to put it in the terminal and to have them seek city government?
That's a good idea.
Placement?
Yeah.
Or find an appropriate place that is not in the traveling public's face.
So move.
All right.
Second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those who oppose?
shame on all of you.
Tommy. All right, the next issue is the national and ANC bankruptcy issue. Mr. Smoot.
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Congratulations.
Is there something you need to tell us?
I apologize.
No, that's fine.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, as you know, ANC Corporation, which is the parent corporation of both Alamo Rent-A-Car, which is an off-airport rent-a-car company here at our airport, and National, which is an on-airport rent-a-car company, filed bankruptcy last year. Through that process, they filed a creative bankruptcy motion, which basically was asking the judge to order not just that they either accept or reject the existing contracts, but that they were able to modify the existing contract, which is the first time in American history that anybody knows that's happened. However, it has now happened numerous times. We had our time up in front of the bankruptcy court about a week and a half ago. We had hired an attorney in Delaware as well as the city attorney who went and made an appearance for us. There was a desperate attempt at the last minute to try to get us to withdraw our objection, because they had nobody else had filed objections for some reason. They cut deals all the way across the country or whatever. We refused to withdraw our objection, and so we were heard by the court. The judge listened and then basically said, and I'll read from the order, that in her mind, there is no prohibition in the concession agreement against dual branding, which is what they wanted to do, which is basically be able to operate both Alamo and National with both of their signs out of a single desk. And that's true. There is no prohibition in there of that. There's also no prohibition of all kinds of other crimes and other things that could go on in the agreement, but we don't let those things happen. However, the judge in her infinite wisdom decided that since there was nothing against dual branding, we had no authority to stop it. The order goes on to say that pursuant to such and such sections of the bankruptcy code, the assumption and assignment of the national concession agreement to ANC DBA Alamo National is approved irrespective of the consent of the city. So basically the judge said, we don't care what you have to say, and has ordered this. This order was effective last Friday, and the basis, what will happen with this order is we will lose $120,000 a year because of the order. Alamo will no longer have to pay fees from an off-airport location. They will be paying under the on-airport location, but the way we lose the money is National, in its infinite wisdom, when it bid here, bid $656,000 as their minimum annual guarantee, and haven't been close to making that each year in their percentage rentals. So they will be able to slip Alamo under that cap, and we will lose all the money that Alamo sent us. We are not happy about this order. We've told the judge that. National assumes that they can just move in and do this. However, yesterday afternoon we filed an appeal in the 3rd District of Delaware, and that appeal was accepted a few minutes ago. That was the cell phone that went off in your meeting. It was the attorney calling us to tell us that they have accepted the appeal, so it is filed. They have not stayed the order at this point. That will be the first order of action. First we must go to the bankruptcy judge, which they will do this morning, and ask the bankruptcy judge to stay the order. If she does not, which I assume she will not, we will go to the 3rd District and ask them to stay the order. We hope they will stay it, and we will continue through the process of trying to appeal this. It's a stand that the staff and the City Council has given direction on. The Council will hear more about it tonight and will give further direction. But it's a stand I think we need to make. We cannot afford to let someone dictate how we use our space by manipulating the courts, and that's what we believe has happened here. That's kind of where we are. This isn't the first time we went round and around. We went all the way to the United States Supreme Court with Alamo Rent-A-Car years ago and have a landmark decision based upon this airport, which makes all rental car companies have to pay fees to airports that operate off airports, so we may do it again. In any event, that's kind of an update as to where we are. Hopefully we will get a stay. If we don't get a stay, then we will have to go through the process of approving their uniforms, which I have the authority to do, and approving their office signage and those kinds of things, and we will have a process for that, I'm sure. And so, based upon that, that's our report. Be happy to try to answer any questions.
Go ahead, Mike.
Alan, when is this contract up with him? I can't remember.
There's about 2.5 years left on the contract. You can be absolutely certain when we do the next contract that it will say there's no such thing as dual branding at our airport, and we will prohibit it, and we'll stop it at that point. I mean, our contract is very clear, but it has language in it that says anything that is not expressly allowed under this contract is hereby expressly not allowed. The judge conveniently overlooked that section of the contract.
Now, do we face the same problem as the budget and Avis, or are they going to keep their separate identities?
Well, I don't believe we do. Avis and Hertz are both suing over this, and they have a hearing coming up in federal court on the 23rd, I think, of October over this very issue to try to stop this dual branding from happening. We've had discussions with Avis, who has now bought, as a matter of fact, I got the order this morning, budget through bankruptcy. And the indications we have received from them is that they operate one as a business traveler rental car and the other as a leisure traveler rental car, and they will keep identities separate, keep separate desks, keep everything separate is what they have told us. If we are ordered and lose this battle with ANC, we will construe our most favored nations clause in our contract, which says any benefit we give one rent-a-car, we give everybody else. We will construe it very closely that says the only rent-a-cars that may dual brand are those who have a parent corporation that both have an off-airport and on-airport under existing contract. Those people could dual brand. There is nobody else that meets that.
Any other questions? Nope. Well, it's like tune in next week for the ongoing saga. Updates.
Yes, we will give you some updates. We have a bunch of them. The rental car lot, if you looked as you came in this morning, is a pile of dust right now. It's torn up. It's been totally demolished at this point, at least the portion that we're going to demolish. And we're at work very hard getting it completed. We are hopeful that by Thanksgiving we will have it operational. We know that we will have some difficulties getting some of the lighting and some of the signage completed. There's just not enough time, but we should get ourselves operational by that point so we can free up the existing parking lot to allow the rental cars to get in there. So we are proceeding post haste. We are also in the process of doing the design on the roadway reconfiguration. We have every hope that we will get before the design review committee of the Planning Commission on the 9th of October. The following week we will be pulling together the subcommittee that was made up of some airport commissioners, some planning commissioners, and a council member to go through the design. And we hope to have the actual design on the Planning Commission meeting of the 23rd of October. It's basically what you have seen. With just some minor tweaks in the road to make the curves easier and make sure we got proper turning radiuses. It's basically that plan on the wall there. And so we will be proceeding to try to get the design review portion of this done. The reason we're pushing it so hard is until they actually approve that alignment of the roadway, which has the controversial issue of the connection or not connection to El Cielo, we don't want to expend a lot of money on design costs, so we kind of get the preliminary design done and stop. We don't have the luxury of being able to stop very long. We must keep moving and must keep moving quickly to get this stuff done. So we will keep pushing on it. Hopefully we will get Planning Commission approval out of the 23rd and get some nods from the council that they will buy this connection the way we have it, which is eastbound traffic only on the Mid-Valley Parkway connection off of El Cielo. And we'll move quickly through the design process, get to bid around the first of the year, get under construction in the spring so that we can get this most important project completed. And then we will quickly, as soon as we kind of get into the design mode on that. We will also start the preliminary design work on the straightening of the road right in front of the terminal building and continue that process on.
How long is the actual construction time estimated to be?
I'm guessing we're going to need about probably 6 months, maybe a little bit longer than that. We do have, besides the roadway, we've got some very complicated security matters. We have that large inspection checkpoint that we have to build down there. On that issue too, the design team and some of the staff members drove to Calexico last week and looked at the customs INS inspection point in Calexico, which is it's about 6 years old. It's new, but it looks, you've seen, that's actually the picture of it up there with the fabric roof. We visited that, and even though it was a wonderful drive to Calexico, we did learn a tremendous amount about how to and how not to build an inspection plaza to deal with vehicles. And so it was a very, very positive process for us. We also learned that you have to take care of your fabric roof or it looks awful. Take care of ours.
And we're going to be serving margaritas too?
So that's where we are with that roadway design things. We will keep it on there. We will get the subcommittee going, as I said, about a week and a half or so from now, and get a meeting set so we can walk you through the details of it as we get it, and we'll keep moving. The next item is your grants. I'm pleased to report that as of Friday, which was actually the second to last business day, we had to actually receive a grant from the federal government in the last fiscal year. We received notification of $7,742,000 in a federal grant, which is a combination of discretionary and entitlement monies. Those basically go towards all this security work we are doing, not only the ready lot, but this reconfiguration of the roadway and a bunch of other things that we have coming to do. This is thanks to a lot of things. Tom Anthony got here just in time to go back to Los Angeles and rattle some doors and ask for help. Our Congresswoman did the same in Washington, and we put together a request that basically said, there's a clause in ATSA, which is the Aviation Transportation Security Act of last year that followed 9/11, that said this year and this year only, smaller airports could seek 100% grants if their projects were security related and mandated by the federal process. Well, we thought ours was mandated by the federal process. And we thought we followed the letter of the law very carefully. In our initial submittal, they said, nope, we're not giving you a 100% grant. Well, on the $7.7 million, that's $700,000 to us, which we don't have. So we started yelling. Mike put together a white paper on the issue, which basically walked the federal government through the law, walked them through every single step. I mean, basically took them by the hand and said, here's what we did and why we believe it's 100% money. And then when we got, right up to the last minute, we had no idea what was going on, but the notice that we received was that this project is required to improve airport safety and security and meets Federal Aviation Administration Part 107. And that little sneaky language in there got us 100% grant.
Wow.
So the money is 100%. We don't have to spend money that we didn't have on a grant match. And so everybody teamed up and did a great job on this. And I'm pleased to say that we were one of two on the West Coast, or in the Western region, that received a 100% grant. The other one was Orange County, that slid in on our coattails from what we hear. And I don't believe there were many other 100% grants anywhere in the country. And this was a one-time thing. The law is now gone because it was just for this last fiscal year.
Anyway, thanks to Mike and Tom.
What percentage do you get, Mike?
So 1% plan.
Give us a check. Got lots of roads.
Anybody come from Millionaire?
No.
All right.
That's where we are with that. Security issues, you've heard a lot about security today. We are pleased that the checkpoint switched over yesterday. It went flawless, as Tom reported to you. It looks a lot different than it did before. It's still got a couple of nights of changeover yet before it's completed. But the system that they've put in place works a lot more smoothly than the system that was there previously. Passengers that are being wanded because they've set off the magnetometers are being wanded in such a fashion that they at all times are able to see their carry-on luggage, and so they don't lose sight of it, and it's moving rather smoothly. The mobile screening force of, I think, 15 arrived here over the weekend to be the trainers, to do the on-site, do the on-the-job training process. And so they're down there working with them, so that's why you see so many people there right now. There's actually on-the-job training going on. As Tom reported, our existing screeners are all down at the Wyndham this morning being assessed. Those who make it through the assessment process will begin the training next Monday, and the following week will work into the workforce. And so we hope to have a sizable portion of them back working here. At the same time, we are continuing to work on our explosive detection mandate for December 31. If you saw down in the ticket wing, there's a lot of construction work going on down there. We're in the process of pushing some walls out and building some different things that we believe eventually will be necessary for our ticket lobby to function. The design, as Tom reported, it continues to change. The number of pieces of equipment continue to fluctuate. And rather than wait until it gets done fluctuating and we have no time left, we got authority via some emergency provisions in our procurement ordinance to begin that construction work. We have 2 contractors working down there on it. And we hope to have all that done by the first week in November, so that we'll be completely out of the way when the equipment hits here sometime in late November for them to begin the installation of it. So we think that's going to go well too.
Alan, am I right that we are waiting, or Tom actually, for new magnometers, magnetometers, or whatever they are, other than the existing ones? Did I understand that right? We had a discussion about it. Sure, please.
Yes, there is an initiative for new walk-through metal detectors, and we don't know when they're going to arrive here. The ones we have are operating fine. We've got one spare, we've got one backup. But they are increasing, and that is a national initiative. It's been sort of put on hold. We were told that the new walk-through metal detectors, magnetometers, would be deployed during the fall. But right now, there seems to be some slight delay in that program. We're looking forward to that.
I think one of the biggest issues is the federal budget process with the election going on. I mean, I was reading emails this morning whether Congress was actually going to get all of the appropriation bills done before they go away for their hiatus for the election. And chances are they're not going to. They're going to do some kind of a continuing thing that continues the government's operation. And I think one of the problems is the continuation of the existing government operation doesn't allocate enough resources to TSA, so they're trying to work through those processes. So there's lots of fun and games going on in Washington to try to figure out how they can get out of there and get home for the election and still keep the government running. So we'll be watching that closely. Okay. AOPA, I think you all got your invites handed to you this morning. You need to note that you need to make a call today if you want to get your passes, so please do call them and RSVP that you're interested in doing that.
We have 12 spaces, and there's a sign-up sheet.
The way we're set up now is to have at least 2,
At least 2 on the 4-hour shift is what we're looking for.
So if people need to sign up when you can to fit in those holes, so we have at least 2 people, and hopefully 4. I mean, that's not a problem. We'll have staff people around, and but it's our responsibility. We're the ones that asked for the space, and we're the ones that got the T-shirts. Thank you, Marjorie. And so we have to take care of that. So if everybody, if you possibly can make it, please sign up, and we'll see you there. Okay, I think it'll go pretty well. Are we going to be out? Do we know where our booth is yet?
I don't have the exact location, but
it's going to be way on the end again.
I don't know exactly, but I can find out.
Okay, it'd be nice to know.
Who's in charge of what goes in the booth or what everybody's supposed to be doing?
That would be me. Yes, we'll have plenty of handout material to give you. We'll use our new promotional guide and other things, so.
Okay. Last time we gave away a lot of stuff, but I don't know if that was terribly effective. They're really come up with, just so we have something in our hand, I think that's more the issue. Because people want to stop and chat, and they're comfortable if you hand them something. That's fine. Any other questions on that weekend? It's going to be a very busy week, as you know. I think we're parking 1,800? 1,400.
1,200.
1,200, okay. On this airport, if you can imagine 1,200 little airplanes sitting out here. We're going to taxi airplanes on Wednesday, is it, or Thursday? Wednesday. Down Vallejo, which is, it's really kind of a fun event. I recommend if you're around, you come down and watch it because it's just the most unusual thing to look down Vallejo and see airplanes rather than automobiles. So that's and actually it's a lot of fun, so I recommend you get a chance to come see it. It's going to be a busy weekend. The airport's going to be very stressed. And so if Barry's eyes are rolling like this, just try to talk to him. The gal's taking vacation.
We have a few other things going on that week too, by the way. But Mike's staff operations are beginning to crank up rather heavily right now to get ready for this event. It will be taxing on your staff to get this done, but it will get done. We will be closing off the Mid-Valley Parkway because we have to fence off the old taxiway to park aircraft on, so that will be occurring in advance of the event. And will be closed off after the event because it takes a while to tear all the fence out and stuff that we have to do. So everybody will get to practice not using the cutoff. And so anyway, that process will be going on. And we will be doing everything we can to make this a flawless event so they'll want to come back and see us again.
This will be the third time here, and they're exceptionally pleased to be here. It has worked very well. Our staff has been very accommodating. So hopefully we can keep that reputation up.
That's what we're hoping for.
Is that why Barry grilled the things here?
Yeah, because it's...
Alan,
Yes.
if anybody wants me to RSVP to their AOPA, just give me your yes or no on your envelope.
And that's the idea, because she can make a single phone call and get it.
I just called.
You're too efficient for us.
And keep your invitation.
Are we going to pick up those badges? Is that what we think we're going to do?
Yes, he has 12 badges, and we will rotate them as we need. We can actually have all 12 of you there at any given time, but you know, we have 12 to work with.
All right, so this next item is fairly important because we have a lot on our plate, and I think Al needs to speak to most of it.
Yes, we do have a lot on our plate. We sent you out a list of what we're calling critical projects, things that are really coming to bear on us. And these are not, most of these are not the kind of things that normally occur in the everyday administration of the airport. A lot of them are one-time events, so there's a lot of stuff that has to go on. But it's important for us to get a lot of this done because it ties a lot to security and the long-term health of the airport. So we're going to do our best to work through all this stuff. I did send you the list so you have an opportunity to see it. There are several things that are underway. The first two, we've made those deadlines. Yesterday they switched over the checkpoint. Last week we sent off the actual packet of information to the federal government for the release of the school district parcel so that we can sell that to them. The school district has reviewed our appraisal and has accepted the $671,000 price tag for that property when the federal government agrees to release it. Anywhere from 6 months to a year from now, that could occur. We are pushing for it to happen quickly because obviously we could use that money. So we're pushing for that.
And that's the FAA?
That is with the FAA, and it has to go through their land release processes. The indications we've received from them, they are not going to object to it, but they just have to go through the process, which is a painful process. You should have all received the Mono Concourse dedication announcements. Please, if you are attending, make sure you RSVP because we've got to coordinate with Tom's fine folks to get everybody through the checkpoint in order for this dedication ceremony to happen. So it will be happening at 3:30 on October 22nd. And we anticipate the Congresswoman will be here if Congress is adjourned for that ceremony. Then you've got AOPA. We've got to get the master plan completed.
You got the wrong dates, the
Yeah, well, this is just the end. This is our completion of it. We got to tear fences down and do all kinds of other things. So that's our completion date. We have to get the master plan back to you, and actually I got the wrong date down here. We need to get it to you at your November meeting. We're waiting for the final follow-up with Kaufman to those of you who sent the last comments in, so that we can get the commission to, because of the environmental process we go through, you will not be approving the master plan, you will be accepting the master plan. Only the council can approve the master plan. And so we'll bring that back to you on the next meeting to work through that process.
Do we need to see that before the meeting, or?
At this point, you've seen, you all have the draft of the master plan. You have the working draft. The specific comments back to the commissioners who sent them in will be followed up before then. And if there are any changes as part of our report, we'll report that back to you before the meeting.
Okay.
We've got to work through the TSA office needs, which we're in the middle of. We've got to get our modifications for explosive detection systems done by the 15th of November, and we're on course to do that. That's happening down there right now. We've got to get this roadway plaza approval, design review, approval by the 15th of November. I think we'll have it by the end of October with any kind of luck. We have to have the checkpoint fully federalized by the 19th, and that's going to happen because it's done. We've got to get our environmental documentation for the master plan completed, hopefully sometime in the next month or two. Depends on the special studies that are required through the process, so that will continue on.
And they're in process now?
Yes, they're in process of working through that now. We have to get the ready lot completed by December 1. We'll have it occupied by then. We may not have it totally completed with signage and those kinds of things, but that'll follow shortly. We're looking to try to secure the money for the grant match to get the temporary old rooms back on course to construct them next summer. It means we've got to scrape together $1 million. So we're working on some creative ways to do that, which we'll be reporting back to you when we figure them out. We've got the 1992, that's typo, bond issues that we want to do a refinancing on. That refinancing is not to save money, it's to get rid of a very restrictive rate covenant that causes us to have to raise the rates and charges to the airlines if we're making a profit, which makes no sense. And so we're going back to try to get that removed. And if we get it done quickly enough, it might actually save some money too, because of what the bond interest rates are right now. We've got to get our 03 grant application in. They've asked us to get it in even sooner than January so that we can get that lined up. We need to get on with permanent tenant improvements for TSA. We hope to have the plans and everything completed by February to be rolling with their permanent things. We have to have the master plan completely adopted by council by early February, we hope. We've got to get the roadway inspection plaza plans out by February. Then we need the design approval of straightening out the road right in front out here by March. We'll be unveiling the new ARF vehicles with the fire department sometime in April when they arrive. We've got
Is that on track?
Yes. Did I guess the right month, Barry? It is April, right? The new we have to get a new access control system obtained and installed. We have to work through the disposal of the old ARF vehicles. We have to get the long-term. We need to work on a long-term explosive detection master plan, which will take the devices out of our lobby and put it out back, but a lot of that will depend on where technology goes. But we want to start that process by the end of the year. We need to get the construction of the roadway and inspection plaza hopefully completed by September 30th. We need to get an expanded employee parking lot, because we're going to have a lot more employees here by September 30th. We need to get the CNG station that's down there right now off of Mid-Valley Parkway has to be relocated because of our construction project, and we're gonna do a little site improvement to make that happen. They're working on some grants from other locations to actually have it relocated. We need to get that roadway straightened in front of the building. Hopefully, we will do the temporary hold room replacement next summer and complete it by November. Your airline agreement runs out in a little over a year and a half, so we would like to go ahead and get it negotiated for an extension and get it packaged so that it's all approved and in place, so that when the other one runs out, this one will kick right in. And we need to, our rules and regulations for the airfield and the airport, basically our minimum standards are, they date back to Columbus's arrival, and we need to get those updated, which Barry's working on. Anyway,
By the way, I need to run the airport too.
yes, in between that, we're going to actually operate the airport and continue to go after airplanes and flights and so on. If there's any questions on any of those, that's kind of where we are now. I'm sure the list will grow.
Yes, Dan.
And the discussions we've had about the realignment of the roadways and the overhead signage where anything taller than 6'8" could not get through. What arrangements are we making for emergency vehicles, like possibly the fire engine come up, we might have some kind of an incident in the parking lot that we need, or are we making a pass around or something like that?
Yes, the design will allow for emergency access to everything. The signage itself and those kinds of things will actually not be low enough to prevent anybody from going through. There will be some devices that prevent oversized vehicles from going through, but we're working through some systems on how to overcome that. In any event, that is a long list, so your staff will be keeping busy.
Do you want to compliment staff again? All the airlines that they have drug in here are encouraged to come in here and have signed up. We have a lot of seats, more seats in this airport this year than we ever have. And I think it's a tribute to everybody up front, Richard and Brian, for hard work. And it's really amazing. If you think about it, it's really amazing the number of airlines and carriers and flights that are coming in here. So it's very important to us. Al, did you have anything?
Barry wanted to add another one to
this
the list.
Two quick ones, actually, in case you're wondering if the contractors that were way off target over in front of the terminal, that's actually the new traffic signal that's going up at LCL and Tacos.
It's not our project.
Yeah, it's city engineering. And the other is we received bids on September 30th for the demo of the multifamily complexes on Calle de Ricardo and Calle de Carlos. Fortunately, it was after the posting of the agenda, so I wanted to report to you now. The high bid came in at $75,825 and the low bid at $38,499, and the engineer's estimate was roughly $50,000. So once we qualify the bidder and see that their references check out, we will hopefully award this at the next council meeting.
Okay. Is that a building that you're going to try and burn or anything?
They are possibly going to do some training in there, but we're still working out some issues with that.
Very good. So anyway, the tour is the next item on here, and that's not really the next item, but Barry, do you want to kind of just tell us what we're going to be doing and where we're going to get it? And where's Mike, whatever that is?
Well, it's kind of a combination. It's a joint effort here. We'll convene in front of the terminal here in about 15 minutes to give you time to freshen up a little. There's a big, large passenger coach out there. It holds 24 people. Hopefully we have enough room. If not, we have a big, large van also that we can take. We will proceed northbound on the Perimeter Road. We'll stop at Signature first, then we'll stop at the Power Station, continue along around the perimeter, go on the airfield. We probably won't go directly on the runway. We'll probably go parallel to the runway on the taxiway, and then cross the runway, over by the radar site, over to Millionaire, and around our ground transportation facility, then back into the terminal. We'll go underneath the terminal first, look at all the mechanical, electrical systems, etc. Mike will meet us down there then and talk about that. And then up into the terminal building itself, back toward the main facility, and we'll unfortunately, our guests will have to wait for us in the center lobby while we look at some more of the sensitive areas regarding security and operations, and then that will end the tour.
Okay.
Roughly an hour and a half to 2 hours.
I think it'll be educational and fun. All right, add the starters.
There are none.
Good. Commissioner requests and reports. John.
I'd just like to mention that I returned late last evening from 3 weeks in Italy. Went through a lot of different airports. There are none that exceed this airport that I went through. The security at this airport and the courtesy of the crew that was doing security, by far the best of any of the airports that I went through. Phoenix, JFK, Milan, Rome, Catania, etc. At every one of the points I was very, very proud of being a part of this airport. And I'm sure it's not only doing very well, it's even going to get better.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, John. Bert, sorry.
I'd just like to say, I think the staff is continuing to do an excellent outreach job and public relations job that can be seen in the press and the daily newspaper, local paper, TV, even TV, and it's all positive that I've seen. And and also the latest issue of Palm Springs Chamber of Commerce, a regular update, keeping everybody on top of the situation. So congratulations to the outreach staff and an effort that is paying off very handsomely locally.
John. Just one other mention. This was the only airport that, while I was wondered because I had a metal plate in my shoe, this was the only airport that I was able to look at my personal baggage and the valuables, wallet, watches, things like that, while that was happening. At no other airport was I able to crane my neck around and see those items that were mine. That was very important. And this airport is really doing it well.
Thank you. Any other comments, commissioners? Yes, Jerry.
Just a comment on this memorial plaque. I have a feeling we may get some negative press. And I was just thinking that Gary's presentation was so articulate that we may want to respond with that particular presentation if in fact we get one.
Okay. Gary?
One other thing that I might suggest that staff do is contact the airlines to see what their position is with plaques in airports. I don't think they would really go for a plaque representing a crash of any type. Get some background, have it ready in case we do get some other information. Call them.
All right, any other requests from commissioners? City council actions, you have the list. They'll be part of the record. Correspondence, Mr. Smith. Okay, staff requests and reports.
I hope you're having a wonderful tour this morning. Can't accompany you. I have to go to a meeting across the street to get ready for tonight's council meeting. But I'm sure the staff will do a fine job of showing you what we have to show you. Have a nice day.
All right, thank you.
I mean, Alan, the new local news this morning coming in, they mentioned that the city council approves the use of some of our PFC money for moving it from a PFC account to the general airport account. I don't see that on there. What's the story there?
It's not on your thing. You'll see it next time. The council each year at the end of the budget year has to move money from our PF. We have two funds. PFC, passenger facility charge, has to be kept in a separate fund by federal law. We have to move it out of that fund into the airport fund to pay part of our debt service every year. And the way we've been doing it is kind of clumsy, quite frankly. Each year we say move $500,000. Well, if we collect more than that, and we have $600,000 in there, you have to go back and move it again. So what we're doing is we're making a final move for last year, and then we're adopting a new resolution for this year that says the finance director is authorized to make these moves during the year up to the maximum amount of money we collect. So we're just doing a budgetary transfer to be able to pay for our debt service.
All right, we stand adjourned.
Just one other quick, Commissioner Engelhardt brought up an important point. If you're going to be at the AOPA manning the booth, we will have your bag, your ID there, and as you check in, we'll give it to you, and then when you leave, we'll need you to return it so that the next group can be sure we have enough bags.
Will we be able to get to our station to do that without our ID?
Well, that's a good question. I will find that out. If we can't, then we'll mail them out to you.
Well, just stand out front.
Maybe this.
Yeah, I think that would probably.
That probably gets you
Are they
through.
going to maybe send us some kind of ticket to get in, but when we respond to this?
Supplies they are,
Yeah.
I think they're going to allocate them or something. I
Well,
don't know.
the badges I have are specifically for the booth.
For the booth, okay. These are separate.
This gets you in the convention and one for the spending money recklessly.
Tom, you're welcome to join us on the tour. I'm sure you're way too busy, but you're certainly welcome. I'd like to see other side.